Alright guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name's Scott Matthews. Got my two helpers here, Chili. Hey Chill, say hello. Chili and Baz. These guys are helping me out of the hangar. I did 30 years in the Air Force as a techo, 40 years building model aeroplanes. Built the Zenith Cruiser, my first full-size aircraft. Built that, and now we're building a Sopwith Camel. Hope you enjoy the build series. That's where we're up to at the moment. Alright guys, build continues. Got a little bit frustrated, so what I did, cleaned up my corner over here. Bench was uneven, put some more stays under the bench and gave myself some hanging space. Photo board, bit of a clean up. Got the wings out, we'll get to those. Also went down back to the motorbike shop and picked up the wheels. Look at this. This is good for a bit of eye candy. So we've got our wheels, they're all true. They're good for about 380 k's down Phillip Island Main Straight. And the spun wheel covers will go on there. That's all looking good. Now back on the, cruiser, back on the wing. What I'm doing here, rang Robert again. Hats off to Robert. Credit where credit's due. Every time I ring him, he answers the phone, answers my questions. We have a bit of a laugh. So, yeah, thanks Robert for all your help and support so far. Laying the wings out. Just getting my head around how the wings go. So, you know, I'm a visual bloke. So I've got the upper wing, centre section, outer wing, top right, top left, bottom right. Just going through. You can't leave yourself enough notes. You know, centre, trailing edge, it's 87 inches plus the stub. All of this is already cut. I was lucky, I was going to cut some sleeves, because what happens, for argument's sake, the trailing edge has a full length sleeve. One goes inside the other. But on the plans, it just shows like 18-inch bits. Well, there's a little line on the plans. So, cleared that up with Robert. But there are, like this is where the wing will, this goes inside. It's held by the joint here. So this stub, the male, goes into the female, birds and the bees guys. And this will be the inner tube. Obviously that needs to, call that 2 inches, we need a 2-inch gap on the inside for this to sit nicely. And then we bolt through that there to hold the wings on. Identifying parts, get into it. Starting on the wings. So I made up my spars. I think I showed you before, I had them all laid out on the floor. Identified the spars, put the inserts in. I just put a cheetah rivet, just one rivet in there just to hold everything. I went with 2 inches poking out and 1.5 inches at the back just to help getting the wing on, so you're not trying to do them both at once. You get the front one on. This is explained in the video, in the build video. And then meet the Arc de Triomphe. So I built this little guy, which has got my brass tube straight through. The plan is, so I've got to drill about 24 holes straight through these wing spars. So if I put my drill in here, that's the wrong size drill bit. You can see what I'm going. An 1/8-inch drill bit, 12-inch one, and that'll sit on the tube. And I can, once I've marked them, pilot hole drill, I think this will work if I put the tube in. So the tube fits there. If I'm pilot hole one side, which you sort of get for free, that can't be wrong. And then the other side, yeah, that's my jig anyway. just get very tired doing the math. Get tired sort of doing the math and trying to work everything out. Like, all right guys, what's half a 7 5/8? Or what's half a 200 mil? Anyway, we're working with Imperial, so it makes it a bit hard. So doing a lot of math, I get home and I'm pretty strung out by the time I get home, doing all the calculations and drilling round stuff on centre. That's all I seem to be doing lately. So we'll push on, and hopefully today we'll get this centre section made. In an effort to work smarter, not harder, just to stop at the end of the table, because you're forever just lining things up. So with I've got a square line on the table, so you can just bang, work by yourself, line things up. And I just made myself a square purely for that'll lay across the top of pipes. So I could do 4 or 5 or 6 pipe tubes, whatever. Work smarter, not harder. All right, centre wing section. Basically the 2 struts, two leading and trailing edge, and 2 compression struts with the wires in the middle. I've got those nice and tight. Just need to come up with some sort of separation, you know, a button or a bit of leather or something there. But really happy with that. And also it stayed nice and square. We move on to the wing. This is the bottom surface. So I've got a tang. This will go, so this is the top wing centre section. That'll go to the lower wing. Lower wing, that one comes across the machine guns. And the wing just slides onto these stubs. Looking good. Right, actually starting to enjoy this now. Getting on top of it, learning the techniques. So I've got the 4, we're going to build the upper left and right wings, because I've got the centre wing complete, 34 inches centre to centre. So I'll build it attached to the centre wing. Laid out the spars. These are double wall thickness all the way to the tip. Recessed at the root, so I've got clearly marked left hand trailing and leading edge, right hand trailing and leading edge, all the same. Now I'm just going to measure out, get all 4 exactly the same for my compression struts. Going along quite nicely. The compression struts, I'll get a visit from Arc de Triomphe to do as we've done on the centre wing. So terminology wise, there's a compression strut with a fitting in there. Got a nice twang. My blue tape indicates I need some work, like a button or something there. There we go. So a bit of a recap. Rudder and fin are on the wall. Just need some minor tweaking. Horizontal tail planes on the wall. Elevators all hinged. What have we got left to do? We're trying not to, like I discussed earlier, I don't have little jobs like the old Hansel and Gretel leaving breadcrumbs everywhere. I don't have little jobs left everywhere. The fuselage was here. I've taken the fuselage, it's still down at Tyab. We're getting the Rotec 2800 fitted to that with a new engine mount. He's also making me up an oil tank. Hopefully next week I'll pick that up. Once I pick up the fuselage, we're going to spray the fuselage, or at least the forward part, because you'll see the frame in the cockpit, probably matte black. I want to mount the horizontal tail plane to the fuselage. That sits on 1-inch standoffs. We'll drop the fin into place. A few gussets, as previously discussed. There's a cross gusset purely to support the fin. That'll go on. The control horn brackets will go on. Tail wheel, probably get the tail wheel onto the fuselage. Bear in mind all this has to come off again to cover and paint, final finish. We'll get that done. We'll run some bricky string to simulate the elevator and rudder cables just to make sure where they go. I'll document where they actually are going to penetrate the fabric on the side and top of the fuselage, or just the sides. So that's where that's at the moment. And I'm getting stuck into the wings. On the wings, completed the centre section, centre wing. So this will be above the pilot's head. It's just that first square. Got my big straight edge, and today I'll make, that's actually the top left-hand wing. I'm building the wing upside down with all these points. You do have to be on your game with these tangs, for argument's sake. Here's the centre of the wing. This tang will go across the those big black things up there. I won't say what they are. Crosses over those. This here will go to the bottom, the outboard struts on the bottom wing, and with your fixtures in the middle. When you get the kit, you basically get the blanks with the 16th pilot hole, or put a 16th pilot hole in them. I've got a master there so that I can drill the rest of the blanks. I'm just drilling them as required rather than rush through and drill them all. I drill as they're required. So on the bench we've got the top left-hand wing, and I've made enough for the top right-hand wing. I just gave those a coat of primer, just etch primer out of a rattle can, but they're ready to go. So today also, when I cut these, this is terminology wise, the compression strut. When I cut this, obviously I'll cut two and put one aside for the other wing, which will be identical. The way this all goes together, I messed around a bit yesterday, getting the bolt in, the right size bolt. The bolts are fairly close tolerance, I guess. The dash length has to be spot on. So you do have to obviously play around as usual with a wire. I've got a washer on, looks like the two inboard ones. The plans call for a -27 out here and two -26s. Well, I've got a -26 out here to get it tight and right. The last time you'll see in there for safety, so they're all in safe. And for my records, they're 1.5 inches long. Sorry, 2 inches long. And drill a rivet 1.5 inches out. I put a washer under the head of the bolt, rather than going by probably a -25, just a washer under the head to get those all in safe and tight and right. We'll lift this tang off later, and that'll join up the bracing wires. I'm going to build this today with it connected to the centre section, make up some more blocks, square everything up, and we'll see how we go. One thing I did notice, you get this perceived pressure that it's all put on by yourself, I guess. It'd be great to finish the wing off today. It's only 7:30 in the morning. I'm out here nice and early on my second coffee. So, it'd be nice to finish the wings, but be nice not to make any mistakes. So if you go home, everything tight and right and done properly, and only 2/3 of what you wanted to achieve, that's fine. Rather than rush ahead and build two left-hand wings, which I have done that with the balsa model aeroplanes before. Right, so making up this compression strut, I know because I measured this one when I finished it. This one's 31.5 inches. We're building to 34-inch centres, so 31.5. The difference with this one is I don't have 1, 2, 3 of those, so 31.5 plus the thickness of 3 of those will give me the length of that. I just tend to just measure it and mark it. Don't worry about the length, you get what you get. Simple jig, just to get my compression struts all the same length. Doesn't matter at this stage, just as long as they're all the same length. That's for the ones that are, so you can see there I've got a single tang and a single tang, or it's a double tang but single thickness. So these ones will be the same length. Aren't they, Baz? Hey Baz, hey buddy. And then these ones out here will be shorter, so I've got 2 to go. So my tools, I guess, the buffer wheel, definitely need a good Scotch-Brite buffer wheel grinder. Yeah, not so much. I've got the folder, cheap folder off eBay, comes in handy at times. The wood saw, just for making up my jig blocks. I just run an extension lead outside now and I don't have to clean up. I just got a cheap old drill that I'm building this with. Good step drills. A little sander on my bandsaw. So I'm zipping the end of these off over to the good old Ryobi belt sander, square it up and just sort of sneak up on it slowly, spin that around, square the end off, back over to the buffer, buff up the end. Hey presto. Would be quicker with a lathe, but hey, work with what you got. Alright, compression struts all made up, 2 sets, not fitted yet. Centre section, this will be left hand, minus the bottom, so we'll flip the whole lot over. That's the leading edge. I'm still a bit unsure at the tip here, because I've got a full length inner tube or doubler in both. I've got no idea how I'm going to squash this down to the tip. Not sure how that works yet, but we'll cross that bridge. There's a lot of questions like that. There's a bow for the wingtip. Let's call it 1-inch tube. This is 2-inch. It'll go into here. And then like on the tail that we did previously, we clamp that down or duck build that, but that's double wall thickness now. So anyway, we work on. Righto. The wing compression struts all bolted up with 1 rivet in there. Looking good. About to start on the cabling. Block down to the table. We'll pull them tight as we can. I'm not sure if I showed you before. Using these little U-bolts just as a second pair of hands. Tension up the cable, tighten this down, check everything, and then crimp. Wing framed up. So we've got our centre section down here. Chocked it all up. I've marked everything. The wing is upside down at the moment. This will go through to the bottom wing. This will come back to the bottom wing at the fuselage. Cable tensions, I just made them so I can't touch the bench. When it's laying there, not without a great force anyway. I measured them with my tensiometer. I've got about 20-25 pounds on there, which is nice. No turnbuckles or anything. You could spend a fortune on turnbuckles with all this. I like to put the heat shrink, if you remember, slip it on first. Just neatens the job up nicely. There is a procedure. You crimp the middle. I say middle, throat, skirt. So in the middle, up near the job, and then the skirt, which will flare out. Do that last. That's the order that the book says. The tape is just, I need to make up, just said before, a button or a bit of leather or something, hold those together. I've taken, there's nothing stopping the wing going that way, fore and aft, or inboard, outboard. So it's all nice and square. If I lift it out, hopefully, yeah, it doesn't go twang. We're nice and parallel. And that should just separate like that. So with a pull, the wings come off. I don't know if I can do this on camera, but leading edge, trailing edge, boom. What's that? Left hand upper wing complete. Yeah, it is left hand. You're just going to flip it over, don't forget, it's upside down. Left hand top wing. Alright guys, might leave that one there. Left wing, centre wing. Do it all again on the right wing. I probably won't show you guys all that. Obviously it's exactly the same as the left hand wing. I even used exactly the same jig, so flipped it over. Leading edge is now on this side. Just paranoid I'm going to build 2 left hand wings, but we won't do that. We'll try not to. Looking at the bottom surface, that's the wingspan all the way down there. 28 feet I think from memory. Whatever the full size is, that's what this one is. So yeah, thanks for watching. Next time, probably get the fuselage back. We'll take a step backwards. I'll get the tail mounted on the fuselage. We'll have the engine. The engine will come Also, we've got the undercarriage. I'm thinking that I'll mount the wings without the undercarriage on it, so the bottom wing is 6 inches off the ground, and then the top wing is just here to muck around with. It's going to be interesting. This wing sort of lives somewhere in the universe up here, so we have to build everything, scaffolding to put it in the right position, hovering above the fuselage, and then we make the cabane struts. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.